Hi, you beautiful New Zealanders. Well, I'm going to do a series of videos on David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill. Without doubt, this bill and what happens to it could change the future of New Zealand for better or for worse, that's for sure. Without doubt, there's going to be a gigantic clash, even civil war, over this bill. Well, why is that? Well, Kiwis are very, very divided about it. Politicians are divided about it. Maori activists will die to stop it. Others will put their lives on the line to see it succeed. The big problem is that the media are 110% behind the activists trying to stop it. Luxon does not support it. He's all with the activists. In taking this stance, he is the king of all fools. He does not realize it, as I have explained in previous videos, that by not supporting it, he is fueling civil war. Let's hope he wises up and changes his mind before the inevitable happens. Well, I hope you enjoy this upcoming series on the Treaty Principles Bill. So in doing this series, what am I trying to expose, to show? What am I trying to explain? Well, I'm going to explain why Maori activists are so opposed to this bill. When I explain their thinking, it will all become clear why we must support this bill and why Luxon must change his mind. Enjoy.
Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill is dead in the water.
The Prime Minister this afternoon finally and unequivocally ruled out supporting it past its first reading. Political editor Jenna Lynch has the story.
He came, he saw, he repeated his speech.
183 years ago, 184 years ago.
The PM telling AM today the deja vu was by design.
Well, look, it's very deliberate. We want a consistency of message. You know, what I've felt about the treaty is what I've felt about the treaty for a long time.
Hitting the replay button, an effort to convey he hasn't changed his position on the treaty.
Crown and Māori came together to sign the Treaty of Waitangi.
In fact, he fancied it so much, he's planning to repeat it next year.
What I felt in 2023 will be what I felt this year, and that's actually what I'm going to do next year.
David Seymour's bill to redefine the treaty principles, creating so much anxiety and angst.
You know, where are we at on treaty principles, Bill? Yes, it's caused some tension, no doubt about that. I understand that.
Despite that, the PM chose not to address it in his Waitangi speech. Today, though, stepping up his defence a notch, saying he had to accept it in negotiations or risk sending Kiwis back to the polls.
For the ACT Party, that was a bottom line in their negotiation. We took a lot. It was one of the major sticking points in the negotiation. We came to a compromise, and what we agreed to is we'll support it to first reading, but not beyond that.
Did you threaten going to a second election?
No, I've never made an explicit threat like that.
Luxon removing words like intention and commitment, leaving no wriggle room. The bill is done for.
We're not supporting it beyond first reading.
This afternoon, a double down, a rule out.
You are ruling out supporting this bill beyond select committee process.
I can tell you that the National Party position, and leader of the National Party now, not as Prime Minister, is that we will not be supporting that bill.
Look, it's will he or won't he. He's used different language at different times, but my bet is that when it comes up for a second vote, which is maybe a year away from now, what will decide it will be what the public want, and no one knows that at this point because it hasn't been written, hasn't been debated.
Seymour's election proposal was to rewrite the principles, pass the bill through Parliament and essentially have it ratified by public referendum at the next election.
Do you promise that there will be a referendum at the end of the Treaty Principles Bill if that bill is successful?
No, it's quite possible that the legislation will pass and the job will be done. Parliament has finally spoken.
You could fundamentally change the constitutional arrangement of our country, basically, with 8% of the vote.
No, that's not accurate. We can make a proposal that the majority of New Zealanders could choose to adopt.
Potentially, though, without a public vote.
Well, they would have to support a parliament that voted for the law to go through, and they have elected that parliament.
The parliament that they elected said that they wouldn't support it.
And as I say, they may well change their mind.
Changing the minds of 50 or so MPs significantly easier than convincing more than half of New Zealand's voting population. You've said you're opposed to the referendum. Are you actually opposed to defining the treaty principles if
Yes.
there is not a referendum?
Yes. Yeah, the same action would happen, yep.
Perhaps the most important mind for Seymour to change, seemingly unwilling to shift.
Well, our political editor, Jenna Lynch, joins us now. Kia ora, Jenna. All right, so if, as we now know, that there is absolutely no way the National Party is supporting this bill, what is the point of all this?
Yeah, legislatively, there is no point. The bill is done for. But in supporting this to Select Committee, Christopher Luxon admitted today that the divisive debate that he was wanting to avoid by supporting a referendum will likely play out anyway. We will still go to that Select Committee process. The public will have their say. This will get a public airing, and it's still likely to get feisty. David Seymour, perhaps the most eternal optimist there ever was, told me this changes absolutely nothing. He thinks that no Prime Minister in history has ever really not cared what the public thinks, and therefore he obviously thinks the public might change the Prime Minister's mind.
Okay, and in some other news, Jenna, the government's back from Waitangi and announcing a crime crackdown.
Yeah, in a move aimed to talk about literally anything other than the Treaty Principles Bill, the government announced today it is going to be scrapping cultural reports. Now, these Section 27 reports are designed for judges to consider during sentencing. It talks to friends and whānau, takes into consideration people's cultural backgrounds, which often leads to...
Please share this video with everyone everywhere. The mainstream media should be reporting on the issues I am raising in these videos, but they're not. Why aren't they? Well, they're corrupt. Why are they corrupt? They are collaborating with Maori activists, there's no doubt about that. In the final analysis, the people of New Zealand, that's us, have ultimate power, not the politicians. Did you know that? The people can kick out the people in power and they can put them into power. How are we going to do that? Well, awareness is the key to change. If enough people in New Zealand become aware of the issues I am raising, we can save this beautiful country. So share these videos everywhere so that come the next election, we can vote the right people in and kick out the people who are destroying New Zealand.